I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. And this is This Week
in Cruton.
The delay is back. So is Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowerScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at NextLevelD1. Powers, hello. You look good, buddy.
Hey, thanks, man. It was not so hot this morning. It was a great morning, and I'm looking forward to lunch. Going to have that Express Tenders pack from Chicken Express. It's going to be a great day.
With a roll.
Yeah, with the roll and the sweet tea. That's how you do it.
My boy.
Anyway, shout out to our friends at Chicken Express. Let's start with This Week in Recruiting. A lot to get to. Actually, you know what? One more Chicken Express note.
No.
You're getting the tenders. Obviously, you get the gravy with it. The gravy's great. Do you have another dipping sauce that you ask for?
Oh, no, I go straight gravy. I don't do another dipping sauce. But I do like the salt, the spicy salt.
Oh.
The serendipity salt in the gravy is chef's kiss.
Mm.
I get the ranch on the side, too, if you were wondering.
Yeah, but you have a problem.
I do have a ranch problem.
It's This Week in Recruiting. I promise you there's recruiting news to get to. We'll start with our prospect on the rise. Our prospect on the rise is Plano John Paul II quarterback Grayson James. He is going to be a senior this upcoming year, 6'1", 200. And this was a guy who was in Elite 11 this past week and came away with some impressive honors. He was the camp MVP of the Elite 11. I feel like Grayson James, I think because maybe the quarterback class is so stacked in the class of 2021 that he might be that guy that maybe people haven't heard of yet. But I'm telling you, this kid, when you watch his film, it's really impressive.
And just a quick correction note, he was the camp MVP of the Bullet Camp, which was this weekend in Dallas. But he was one of the participants in the highly prestigious Elite 11 camp up in the Nashville, Tennessee area about a week and a half ago. Kind of put his name on the national radar in a way. He's one of these guys because it's such a loaded quarterback class in the state of Texas. You're talking like 30 guys that are going to be going to the FBS level. Maybe it'll end up sliding up to 35 by the time the dust settles. But he's one of those guys who just doesn't get talked about enough. He helped Plano John Paul II go to the state championship game last year. He's a very efficient and accurate quarterback. As a matter of fact, he completed 291 out of 458 passes last season for 3,878 yards and 42 touchdowns to only 7 interceptions. So he is a guy who can pick defenses apart and fit into that spread-style offense, I think, in college and just be one of those guys who just leads his team constantly down the field and puts up points. Really good quarterback in the Dallas area that just doesn't get talked about enough, and that's why he was selected for the prospect on the rise this week. I think it was a good pick.
I think so, too. It's a guy that certainly people need to know about because of that depth at quarterback spot. It's easy to focus on those top 1, 2, or 3 guys, but it's a super, super deep class. Let's get to our commit of the week. And this may have been an even tougher choice. We'll get to our commit of the week. We're talking about Frisco 2021 athlete Chase Lowery. He's committed to Arkansas. He had a bunch of offers from a lot of places, including Tech, Michigan State, Pitt, Purdue. He ends up pulling the trigger to go play for the Horned Frogs. Let's first start talking about Chase Lowery. He's worth focusing on here. This is a guy who's a breakout star, helped Frisco get to new heights last year, is poised for a big senior year, and I know that Arkansas is going to be awful glad to have him.
Yeah, definitely. I think we picked Chase Lowery, one, because he's one of Ishmael Johnson's favorite recruits in the entire state of Texas, and two, he kind of got the ball rolling on what was a very exciting week of commitments in the Lone Star State. He committed, I think, within an hour after we went off the air last week. So he kind of got the ball rolling on what was a very heavy, I think there were 15 or 16 FBS level commitments in the Lone Star State this week. But he kicked it all off, and he picked Arkansas over offers from Texas Tech and a myriad of other P5 schools, Michigan State, Pittsburgh, Purdue, etc. He had a long offer list, but he's one of these guys at around 6 foot, 180 pounds, that's a true two-way star. I mean, he's a really good wide receiver, but I really think that his upside may be highest on the defensive side of the football as a cornerback. He's not afraid to come up and mix it up in the box, and he's a sure tackler. but he also has the aggression and confidence of an island corner guy, and I really like that about his game. So TBD on exactly where Arkansas will end up playing him, but if I had to guess, it probably ends up on the defensive side of the football where he can make a huge impact, possibly shutting down one half of the field in the SEC.
The reason that this was such a difficult choice is because there were, let me count them up real quick, 1, 2, 3, 4, 15 signees this week, or rather, I should say commitments this week. In the class of 2021, it was ridiculous. I'm going to ask, we got the full list up on TexasFootball.com if you want to read our This Week in Recruiting piece up there. But is there one or two in particular that you would say were maybe first runner-up or second runner-up for being the commit of the week because you had your pick of the litter?
Well, definitely Kendrick Blackshire committing to Alabama. I think that was huge recruiting news. He was I think he was the lone 4-star that made a commitment this week. Deion Sanders' son, Shadur Sanders, committed to FAU to play for Willie Taggart at Florida Atlantic. I think that's pretty significant news in the Lone Star State. And Missouri dipped into McKinney to get a defensive end I really like in Jonathan Jones. But the sleeper to me on the commitment list this week is Wake Forest coming to College Park and getting linebacker Dylan Hazen. I love this kid. I think that he's going to be one of these guys that Wake Forest is going to have their hands full trying to keep on that commitment list because when he shows what he can do as a senior, there are going to be a lot of colleges come calling for him with scholarship offers. He's kind of a freakish athlete that Wake Forest is getting a steal in.
We're talking with Greg Powers, the Next Level Athlete here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at hashtag TF Today. All right, let's get to our underclassmen of the week. Our underclassmen of the week, let's talk to the defensive back in Katy, Bobby Taylor, a 2022 kid. He has named the top 12, which is certainly saying something because he had about 1 million offers. He is the top 12. The top 12 includes Baylor, TCU, Texas, A&M, Alabama, Arizona State, Arkansas, Auburn, Florida State, LSU, Oklahoma, and USC. And then he added the 13th, and he added Georgia to that list.
Oh, no big deal. Just add it on.
He's already a DCTF 4-star. Bobby Taylor, no surprise that they are that Katy's got an outstanding defensive back and a young one in that. Bobby Taylor is certainly a name to know from Katy.
Yeah, Katy's going to have a really good defense this year, and Bobby Taylor is one of those guys who could play corner or safety. He's got the size of a safety and the skill set of a cornerback. He's the son of former NFL defensive back Bobby Taylor, who played his college ball at Notre Dame and just so happened to play at Longview High School in the state of Texas. So his dad played at Longview, and Bobby Taylor plays at Katy. So they play him for some pretty prominent high school programs. We don't usually feature like guys who announce a top 12. You know, that's a lot of schools still to kind of sort through and try to figure out which ones are really standing out on that list. So we try to avoid doing this all the time. But he's young enough that I think that this is a good list to kind of start to concentrate on as he still has 2 more years of high school ball left. And it's a pretty good list. You're talking about some of the top schools, not only in the state of Texas, but nationally, who have thrown their hat in the ring with offers for Bobby Taylor. And he's going to have a hard decision-making process. I did find it interesting, though, Notre Dame's not on that list.
That is particularly interesting. That is a guy that Bobby Taylor, the defense back from Katy, whose name you certainly need to know. Let's wrap it all up with our recruit of the week. Our recruit of the week, all right, we don't like to name underclassmen here because we have our own Underclassman of the Week category, but pretty much had no choice here. Our recruit of the week is Summer Creek's 2022 offensive lineman Kelvin Banks, because this guy, he had himself a week, okay? So he decommitted from Oklahoma State. Okay, fine, normal. It happens all the time. He then picked up a new offer from Colorado. So now he has all of these offers from Baylor, Texas A&M, Tech, Auburn, Florida State, LSU, Oregon, not to mention Oklahoma State, who I'm sure would still love to have him back, and now Colorado. And he earned an invitation for the 2022 All-American Bowl and the 2022 Under Armour All-America game. This guy, his social media was blowing up is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was a pretty good week for Kelvin Banks. I mean, just one All-American invite usually gets you potentially named to one of these slots, but he picked up 2 All-American invites this week. So really good week for Kelvin Banks, and I would say a really bad week for Oklahoma State, who lost the commitment from this guy who was our O-line MVP at the Next Level Athlete Texas Top 100 Showcase. And I have to say, Ashley, did we not call this back in January? Did we not say, hey, Oklahoma State's going to have their hands full keeping a commitment from this guy? And also, he's going to get every offer that he really wants, and that's kind of come to fruition since then.
Absolutely.
He's one of the most heavily recruited offensive linemen in the nation.
He was unbelievable to watch at that camp. I mean, there were very, very good offensive linemen that were at that camp, and there was no one that could compete with him from feet size, their speed to size. He's a monster.
Definitely a name to keep an eye on, and if he has any more active weeks like this, I mean, we're going to have to just name the whole dang segment after Kelvin Banks, the Summer Creek 2022 offensive lineman. He is Greg Powers. He always has a big week. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at Next Level D1. Powers, appreciate your time, my friend. We will do this again next week.
Let's do it.